After having the best Godzilla movie to ever exist, in my opinion, we also got another Godzilla movie after a few months of -1 for the Monsterverse. Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, a continuation of Godzilla vs. Kong, which is a movie I really like, so you can imagine my excitement for this movie. In this video, I'm going to give my full review on this movie without any spoilers, so you don't have to worry about getting spoiled. So with that being said, let's just get right into it. So I'm going to go over some of the negatives I have with the movie and then talk about the positives. Now, I don't like using the term negatives because they're not that bad. They're actually decent and okay. The only reason why I'm saying negatives is because they could have done better with them. So just keep that in mind. First off, this was more of a King Kong movie rather than a Godzilla and Kong movie. For a movie titled Godzilla and Kong, you'd expect to both have some equal screen time, but no. Godzilla feels more like a cameo in the movie, like he's just there as like a backup plan or something like that. And the scenes where we do get with Godzilla, they're very quick and not much focused on. I wish we would have saw more of Godzilla and the fights that he had, like the one where he was going to face a monster with a bunch of energy. Like, he quickly just fights him and wins, which was kind of a letdown because this monster was supposed to be this big threat with all this power, and Godzilla just like one-shots him. So that was a bit underwhelming. So yeah, I wish we would have saw more of Godzilla and the scenes where we do get some time with them. I wish they would have just been longer and better. Next, there are like two major plot points in this story where I was kinda cringing because of how convenient they are and how they were just last minute decisions just to drive the plot forward, and because of that, they kinda suck. I don't want to spoil too much, but the point where Kong gets his metal or robotic arm, which looks amazing, don't get me wrong, but how he got it was so convenient and so perfectly timed that it just kinda takes you out of the movie. The whole process of getting and giving him that robotic arm was just so perfectly convenient, it's kind of ridiculous. The main villain of the movie was brutal, and I think he was really cool. I just feel like we haven't seen enough of him or the other monsters shown in this movie. He was introduced a little over halfway through the film. Again, he was cool, but I feel like the film didn't give him the right amount of time to show more of his brutality and why he's this epic villain or whatever. The next sort of negative I had with this film are the characters. One of the main problems a lot of people have for the Monsterverse are that the characters. And yeah, I didn't care much for the characters. I don't think anybody does. Like, I don't even know or remember their names. And I can bet that a big majority of people that watch this movie don't remember either. The movie tries to make you connect with the younger girl with psychic powers. It's the usual, oh, I don't belong in this school because I'm just so different and stuff. It's such a basic trope that's been overdone so many times to a point where it doesn't really work. At the same time, do you hate them? No, the characters had a few funny moments, and I like that, but overall, I didn't care for them. Characters are just meh, and while the characters are meh to me, I think the movie spends more focus on them than they should because we do spend more time with them, and I feel like we could have used that time to focus more on Godzilla rather than on them, but that's just my opinion. Overall, characters aren't terrible, but they're not great either. And that is actually going to lead to the positives I have for this movie, and one of them is, despite the meh characters and story, it doesn't mean that much because I and most people who have gone to see this movie are just going to see it for the monsters and the action, and that movie delivers on that. The CGI, the special effects, the fight scenes, all of the action is amazing. Everything in that department is amazing. The main reason why people watch the Monsterverse is just to watch monsters fight, and these movies always deliver on that. There is destruction, there is chaos, there is everything you could ask for in this movie. Now, again, I don't think this exceeds the fights in Godzilla vs. Kong, but are you gonna be entertained? Hell yeah. I also like the little story with Kong being all alone and eventually finding the baby gorilla who he eventually forms a bond with, so that's also pretty nice. There's a point in this movie right where Kong and the baby gorilla meet where Kong gets jumped and he loses his weapon, and the baby gorilla provides a new weapon for Kong to use, which is super hilarious. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. That's probably the funniest part of the whole movie. Again, the visual effects, cinematography is amazing, as well as the soundtrack. Everything in that department is just awesome. This movie is hilarious, it's entertaining, it is action-packed. all of that is just fun. And yeah, those are my positives for this movie. Now hold on a second. You may think that because of how short the positives I had for this movie are, it doesn't mean everything else is technically bad. Again, I think the characters are somewhat okay, the main villain is decent, everything else is okay. It just could have been better, a mix of okay stuff, and an amazing fight scenes and awesome visual effects and action makes for an enjoyable film. I think that's all I have to say for this movie. Overall, it's not a step up from Godzilla Minus One, definitely not, and I don't think it's even a step up from Godzilla vs. Kong, but it's still an enjoyable movie. Almost everything in this movie is okay, but the action scenes and the fights really carry this movie. Overall, I'm gonna give Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire a 7.5 out of 10. I think it's a really fun movie with a decent enough story to keep you entertained because the real treat is the fights. If you love monsters and if you want to see an action-packed movie with awesome effects and CGI and fights, then this movie is for you. If you have seen this movie, let me know what you think of it in the comments down below if you would like. That's going to be it for my review. I hope you all have enjoyed it, and I wish you all an amazing day or night. See ya.